So much like depression, the very first thing that we would do, find somebody trusted who's an adult in your life.
Absolutely.
And so that may be a parent, maybe a guardian, it may be a religious figure in your life, maybe a teacher, maybe a guidance counselor, maybe Mr. Downing, maybe a coach. Again, so often we're in stressful situations in athletics or in academics. Well, that's where your coach or your teacher can really help you out with this, because if you come to me as a teacher, I can say, all right, now look, here's your grade, here's kind of where we are, here's where you need to be, and we can talk about that, and we can address that issue.
Right.
What your teacher or your coach can't address is larger anxiety issues, but that's still maybe a great place to start. Because if you are always talking to this teacher and are always like this, a teacher's gonna notice.
Oh, for sure.
And the difference is, though, as teachers, we have 100 or better kids that we interact with on a daily basis, and while we care about all of them, I don't notice necessarily changes in behavior that maybe a friend might. So what might a friend say if you have anxiety? What might some of your friends' responses be?
I think kids often want to try to help and be supportive, but again, they may not know the right things to say or the right questions to ask because they're kids. Kids know about what kids know about, and trained professionals know more of those things. You had mentioned something earlier about, they have sports and friends and social media. And I would say a lot of the times kids are anxious about normal life things that are going on a lot of times outside of school. And they come to school and they've still got all those thoughts and worries inside their head, but they can't really filter that out. And so trying to understand that, number one, some of the things that happens in kids' lives will make you anxious. Whether it is you're struggling in school, people are talking bad about you online, your parents are getting a divorce, your dad lost his job, your mom's in jail, etc., etc., etc. So there's a lot of things that stress kids out that adults don't even know how to deal with those things. And so when kids are experiencing adult situations, their brains aren't developed enough to know how to respond to that. So it just creates anxiety inside of them.
That's really another good point. We didn't actually touch on this in our depression episode, but as kids, we live in a place with others and with adults, and a lot of times those adult problems, as an adult during COVID, there was a great deal of worry about where can we go out? What can we do? What's the future going to hold? Are the paychecks going to keep coming in? And these are things that otherwise many families that would never have worried about this in the past, absolutely during the last year and a half, were very worried about. Maybe there was a distant family member or an attached family member who was sick, or that we were afraid because of their ailing health would be more susceptible to COVID. And a lot of these adult problems got brought home. And so those problems that are at home, you don't leave them when you hop on the bus. You don't leave them when you hop in the car. Now, we hope that Warrensburg-Latham is the place that you can come and feel safe. We hope that this is a place where you can come and know you're going to be fed, that I'm going to get my meal, my breakfast or my lunch, whatever it happens to be. We want that to be a place, but even as much of that as we can do, we can't take all of the stuff out there and stop it at the door. It comes in with us. And sometimes as a teacher, I don't understand that the reason you just popped off in class, or the reason you were just so mad about that C- didn't have anything to do with a C-. It's coming from the outside. And some of those anxieties come in with us. So that may not be clinical in the sense that it needs to be treated, but that doesn't make it less real.
Right. Not every situation is going to require you going to a doctor, but I think that there are a lot of times when it just helps to have someone to talk to or to give you some strategies to deal with this stuff, because a lot of it is not just going to magically go away and get better. If you're struggling with math, for example, You can't just not ask for help and then expect to magically get it one day. You have to be proactive and communicate that you're struggling, take the time to try and get better, and then over time you will see that improve. Taking care of your mental health and wellness is exactly the same. Those problems that you're struggling with at home probably aren't going to magically disappear, or if you're having problems here at school, they're not just going to disappear and go away over time. You have to do things differently if you want different outcomes.
Well, and I think that's going to be a big part of this, is doing some things differently.
Yeah, because like we talked about before, there's an adage that says, life is 10% about what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. So if you can learn to take a step back, take a minute before you react to a situation, you might have a different outcome.
And that brings us to this communication piece. Not only are we talking about communicating with adults when we need help, we're also talking about communicating with each other and giving each other a little bit of slack.